Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making another one of my silly sculptures. With today's design, I struggled a lot, I have to admit. From the designing process to the end result, I had no idea how this thing would turn out. The only thing I knew is that I wanted to make a frog, because frogs are cute. Oh my gosh, not like that. Okay, now that's better. So I wanted to add details of different kinds of species, and my first idea was to make a bat frog. I don't know where that idea came from, which is weird enough, honestly. But I tried it anyways, so I started by adding some wings to it. And a unicorn horn. Now that's obnoxious. Kill it. I don't like it. I was in a weird mood that day. Anyway, I still kept trying with the wings, but luckily at some point I realized that it was a stupid idea and that it wasn't gonna look good, even if I tried 10 more times. So I ditched the wings, and then I realized that I also hated the face. So I redrew that and made it a bit more cartoonish. Then I just added some more spines on the back, obviously, and gave it a tongue, and that's it. So I ditched the whole idea of adding elements of another animal into it. I figured that sculpting a frog will be difficult enough, so I just left it at that. I also wanted to keep the color scheme relatively simple with, spoiler alert, it will not stay like that. This design will change quite a bit during the process. My initial designs are honestly more like a rough idea to give me some direction while sculpting, but I just let my creativity flow and make changes if I feel like it. So as you can see, my frog is gonna be mainly blue with just a few off-white details. Hop off, little froggy. Time to get started on creating your skeleton. Oh, little heads up, during this video my camera setup changed a lot, so the first clips are done with an iPhone 11, but then I bought a used iPhone 15 Pro because I thought the video quality was gonna be a lot better on this, which it wasn't. So then I returned it and bought a video camera instead. Now that I have this all sorted out, there is hopefully not gonna be any more weird video quality glitches in the future. As you can see, I'm already halfway done with the armature at this point by just connecting different pieces of wire together to make the torso and the front legs. Then I created some sort of rib cage and crumpled up some aluminum foil to put inside so that I can make the structure more three-dimensional, which makes it a lot easier to sculpt on top. I'm pressing the foil together quite strongly so that it gets very sturdy and fits into my wire structure perfectly. Then I take some thin wire to secure the aluminum foil to the armature. This step isn't always necessary. Most of the time I just use hot glue to secure everything together, and that works fine as well. Now I can't ignore it any longer and have to figure out how to make his back legs. I had to cut a lot of my video material out here because it took me quite a while to figure this out, but basically I just made this lightning bolt-like shape and attached it to the back of the torso. I'm really taking my time to make sure both hind legs are about the same size and bend at the same points and in the same angles. Okay, now that that looks pretty good, I'm once again using my thinner wire to attach the second leg to the torso, making sure they both look about the same. After that, it's time for some more aluminum foil. I'm pressing it into a nice little ball to form the head of my frog. I also made this elongated shape that I'm gonna glue on top of the back to hide the wire and make it a bit more tall. Then I'm heating up my hot glue gun to secure everything together. Oh yeah, I also added this beak-like thing to get the head shape a bit more accurate to what it looks like in my reference. Now that I'm finally done poking myself with wire and burning my fingers with hot glue, we can get to the fun part and add some air dry clay. First, I'm always roughly covering the whole thing in clay and then add more layer by layer, sometimes letting it dry in between so that I don't squish any parts that I've sculpted before. Now, at this point, I already dreaded making the legs and feet because I already knew that there are gonna be so many little crevices and finicky parts that are really hard to sculpt. Also, air dry clay seems to shrink in the drying process a little bit, so these crevices tend to get cracks, then they need patching, so that then they can crack again during the drying process. Anyway, at that point I didn't know about that yet, so I'm just happily adding more and more clay, building up these thick froggy legs, smoothing everything out, but trying to not lose too much definition and detail in the process. I'm making most of my sculptures over the span of at least a week. I know in my videos it looks like they're super quick and easy to make, but if I tried sculpting the whole thing in one go, I'd go mad. I tried it before and I just kept squishing parts that were already done and kept adding water to smooth everything out, and then it turned out to be a real mess. So now to avoid getting super frustrated, I just add really small layers of clay at a time, waiting for a day or two until it's mostly hardened, and then add more detail after that. Alright, I'm smoothing everything out one more time and then I set it aside to dry so that in the meantime I can figure out how I'm gonna make the froggy feet. I'm pretty happy with how the shape of the frog turned out so far. Obviously, it's not perfect. The posture looks kind of stiff and the torso looks a bit weird, But sculpting a frog is kinda hard. Who would have thought? As you can see, for the feet I added some fresh clay to his stumpy legs, and then for each toe I pushed a piece of wire into that. I did that because I was pretty sure that if I tried to just sculpt these finicky little toesies right onto there, they're gonna break off real easily. So I added the wire and secured it to the clay with some super glue. And that also gave me some more stability, which made modeling on the toes a lot easier. While I'm waiting for the clay to dry, I can already start adding the spines to his back. As you might know, I've done this for all my characters so far. I don't know, I'm just kind of obsessed with it. Now that the spines are all done, I'm gonna give him some big oval-shaped eyes. At this point, with the spines and all, I thought it looked kinda like a punk. I don't know why exactly that is, but I don't really like it. The elongated face, the big spiky spine thingy right on top of his head, I don't know. Imagining this being painted exactly like my reference, I felt so bored by the idea that I was already pretty sure that I was gonna hate the end result. But as you will see, I'm gonna go a bit wild with the paint job here, and that's gonna turn this whole thing around. Until that, I still have to form all of his little toes, which was a painful process. I hated every second of it, so I'm gonna spare you most of that here, and for the sake of my own sanity, finish them off camera. I also had to sand the whole thing down quite a bit to get everything smoothed out, but I did that off camera as well. It's not a very interesting part of the process. Alright, now everything is dry and sanded, so we can start going wild with the paint. Let me just get out my very cheap set of acrylic paints and my crusty dusty glass palette, and we can start by mixing some blue. I know, I said we were gonna go wild, but I still want the main color to be some shade of blue. But don't worry, we're still gonna make it look interesting and funky. First I mixed this kind of minty color as you can see, but I kinda hated it. So then I added a bit more of a darker blue to it, which looked very satisfying. Paint ASMR. Now as you can see, I'm painting over the frog, but it is green. After I realized that I hated the mint color, I painted the frog green, which looked so ugly. So then I decided it needed to be blue again. But now I think the color is fine, so I'm gonna start adding some details now. The first thing I did was that I added a darker belly patch. It's always an easy way to make a design a bit more visually interesting. And then I had this brilliant idea of adding these drop-like shapes but going upwards. I don't know how else to describe it, but I think there is a blue frog in nature that does look a bit like that. I always think that I'm coming up with original ideas and then find out that they're subconsciously heavily inspired by something that already exists. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh my god, yes, I even remembered the name. It's called a poison dart frog and it has blue legs with dots on them. They look really freaking cool. Now, even just adding these elements and realizing it looks kind of like a poison dart frog already made me excited about this project again. And I love that. It doesn't always have to be a huge change to take something from meh to kind of cool. So the next step was to paint the spines. I decided to go for an off-white color here to balance out the already kind of busy underside. But then I made it even busier by adding a bunch of polka dots. Now, who could have foreseen that? I only made a few of these animals so far, but there seem to be a lot of recurring elements. Oh yes, and because it wasn't busy enough already, I decided to add these traffic cone or party hat kind of stripes to the spines. And I don't care what you think of those, I think they're an expression of pure creative genius. Okay, now for the eyes, and that's where I fell in love with this design. I started out with a white base coat, and then I gave my froggy some heavy eyelids and some cute blue eyes. I decided to also add a black pupil, which I think added a lot of depth to the design. I really like it. Some cute white highlights to bring it to life, and then it struck me. This isn't some dude, this is a girl, and not only is it a girl, I know exactly whose girl that is. Obviously, I had to give her some cute eyelashes as well. I am so in love with this little froggy. I could not be happier with how it turned out, and also it's my first girl character, which about time. I'm so happy that I changed so much of the design during the paint job, especially the eyes make this character really come to life. I love her kind of annoyed expression, and the traffic cones. I can't forget about those. And yeah, it's time that she meets her soulmate at last, the one and only Eberhard. Now these two are truly precious together. Who knows, maybe we'll have an interspecies family soon? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Bye!